Everyone, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Paranormal Beyond Disclosure. We are a weekly podcast dedicated to sincere, in-depth investigations into the paranormal, supernatural, and the metaphysical, with a special focus on the UFO topic. We take a sincere, analytical approach, thoroughly evaluating each case and its implications. Our discussions go beyond the surface as we engage with researchers, investigators, and experiencers to explore the deeper layers of their testimonies. We strive for high-resolution analysis, carefully examining evidence, patterns, and perspectives that challenge conventional thinking. If you're looking for a podcast that seeks deeper understanding, you're in the right place. Please be sure to like and subscribe and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. You can also visit us at www.paranormallypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. Thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranormal Beyond Disclosure. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in with us tonight. Having a little trouble on getting us live on X. So no worries though. We are still good.
That's because there's I think some cyber attack or something going on right now. I heard about that. Yeah, there's like massive cyber attacks going on with X.
Oh, you know what? I do think I remember seeing just a tiny bit of that right before I got on here. So yes, that would explain why. So we have a mind-blowing show for you tonight, and our guest is Kathleen Tedder. Is that correct?
Correct.
And you've had an experience of lifetime of extraordinary encounters, alien visitations, missing time, near-death interventions, so much more. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 74 years old tomorrow, and I've had experiences since, as far as I can remember, since I was 4 years old.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
This is the best present I could ever have, being on this show. Thank you for that. And from age 4 through my entire life, I've had everything you can possibly think of, in that I've had angels appear. I've seen Sasquatch several times, crafts, orbs, ghosts, missing time. One time I do remember going up with my car and then being put back in the middle of the highway. Kind of crazy stuff went on then. You name it, and it's been in my world. And I didn't process it until I got taken in 2016 while I was sleeping through an RV, and on after the whatever went on, and in my dream, as in my dream state, I was falling, and it was strange because then I hit so hard it woke me up, and when I sat up I realized I had a broken rib, and I was mad at them. So, because that hurt, so for a month I'm kind of cussing them out, and it woke me up to, I've got to deal with this now. This has went on all my life and they've never hurt me, but something has happened. Anyway, so after praying for a month and healing, I got a loud telepathic message in my head. It was like 1,000 beings, but all speaking in unison. And I got, "We're sorry." And it shocked me. I'm like, I just heard that, and I'm like, and I'm out on a farm. There's nothing out there but me and a bunch of cows. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And then they said something about an EMP pulse. I had no idea what that was. I had no idea, but I remembered the word. So I went in and started YouTubing and looking. And that was like my awakening to spiritual matters. I thought, I think I might need to learn some shaman type skills or some kind of skills to remove entities and to protect myself. And I did. I went into heavy duty training to learn that, as well as spiritually looking at all of the things that had been happening and putting them together instead of hiding them or putting behind me, because I never talked about these things before. So I'm 60 something years old when that happened, and I decided, well, actually they kind of told me, it's time for you to tell it, speak it, say your truths, tell them everything. It's time for you to speak out. So that's kind of what I've been doing a little, mostly on Facebook, little posts and such, but
well,
I am done.
It sounds like that you have a lot happened over those years, and Jim and myself want to delve right into this. Jim, take us where we need to be, my friend.
Well, I think where we should go is the earliest experience. I think you had a significant early experience. I think at 4 years old.
Yes.
Let's go into that experience methodically and slowly, capturing every detail, and tell us what happened. That I think it was a night, right? The night of
it was, yes. If you're speaking of my angel coming, yes. It lived in Alaska, and my parents were musicians and worked at night in the nightclubs. And sometimes I had a relative would be the babysitter. Sometimes I didn't know who the babysitter was, you know. And in Alaska, I just remember it being one of the most horrible sounding storms I've ever heard, even living in Florida. You know, we get lightning and thunder. This storm went on all night, it seems like. And I woke up and I was very afraid, but I was also afraid to go find out if there was a babysitter or who it was. And I just didn't want to move. I was terrified, to be honest, and with this storm going on. And all of a sudden, I felt like looking at the doorway, and in the doorway, this glowing lady, beautiful lady, big eyes, big bright green eyes, and long red hair. Just a beautiful lady with just a beautiful aura, just everything.
So it was dark, but you could see her well. You could see her. Was she illuminated? She was lit up. Like lit up brightly to the point where you could see her crystal clear.
I could see her fine, but there was a light. There was like a light around her that came with her, and she didn't walk to the bed. I always thought about this. She floated to me. She didn't wasn't high off the ground, but she floated over to the bed, and she sat down and she took my hand. And she said, "Why are you afraid? Why are you so scared?" And I told her, "I don't know who my babysitter is. I needed something, reassurance." And she says, "I want to show you something." And she did a little something with her hand. And when she did, the whole room lit up very brightly in every inch of space. Every inch of space in the room was faces, different beings. And when I say faces and different beings, I literally saw little tiny people about 2 feet tall that looked adults that were 2 feet tall. I, to this day, say flying monkeys are real because I saw flying monkeys, Sasquatch beings, you name it. They were in every inch of my space. It was as if she opened all the dimensions at the same time. And all these beings that were looking at me were smiling and sending me love and like sort of cheering me on. And I never forgot that. And then she just kind of did her little thing with her hand again. And she said, "You're never alone. They're with you always. So you're never alone. So don't be afraid." And I thought, oh my goodness, because every face, like I said, even though it was strange, it didn't, none of them scared me. I just thought, oh my goodness, look at all these beings.
Let's get a little more detail there with what you saw. So when I listened to your interview with Mr. Gray, I was imagining a lot of beings, surrounding you, but you're saying that every inch of space there was a face. So we're talking about
well, there was bodies. There were full bodies, but they seemed as if they floated above me, as if just everywhere around me was beings all the way around me.
And
And
they were all paying attention to you. They were all fixated on you.
they were, and they had this big, all of them had this love look, this smile, this whatever I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt more love in that moment than I ever had before, and probably since. And I felt like the lady would be like my guardian angel or my fairy godmother, sort of. And I've never actually seen her again since then. That's been the only time that I know that she's been in my world. But there's a possibility she's been. I just don't know that.
Well, in a
But the
moment,
being, certainly.
yeah, in a moment, let's talk about her appearance and what she looked like. But first, so you're seeing all the beings. Are they as real as she is? Did they seem like they're just
Yes,
did they just seem like imagery of beings, or did they seem like they were there? Did you feel the
they
presence of them?
they were, well, I'm 4, but again, they didn't look holographic. They didn't look, they didn't glow like she did. They just were in the light that she made appear, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I felt that they had bodies. I felt they were as real, as
Seemed
anybody.
real.
I
Yeah.
did. I felt, and there was as a little girl in a little room, I couldn't figure out how come I was seeing about 100 faces or more. You know what I mean? It was like I didn't understand.
It must have been a feeling of astonishment, to
Yeah.
be, to not know that they were around you, and then all of a sudden they're suddenly revealed to you, and they were, presumably there all along was the implication. So what was her appearance? So she had long red hair. She was very beautiful, like unusually beautiful, right? Like how people describe Nordics, like not like almost beyond beautiful, like strikingly beautiful is what I'm gathering, right?
Yes. Yeah. I to this day, I can see her face. If I could draw well enough, I would love to try, but I might work on it. She had, like I said, big almond shaped green eyes, not like ET eyes or anything strange, just bigger than normal.
Not like
And
gray eyes is when you say ET eyes, not like the eyes of a typical gray is, I think, what you're.
but they were all kind of almond shaped and a little bit upward,
Mm-hmm.
a little. Like I said, the red hair, which I couldn't help but touch as a little girl. It was so beautiful. I remember running my hands through it.
It felt real.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Everything was so real, except when I think about her glow and her floating over, and then the light, the dimensions, and the whole thing. Wow.
That was the only aspects that were kind of ethereal. The fact that she floated over and was glowing.
Now she was in a long dress or a robe, or maybe even it looked soft and velvety, like maybe a cape. Everything was long and flowing. I just remember, and dark.
Interesting. So not a tight-fitting bodysuit, like as typical with the Nordic, but a flowing kind of.
Yeah.
And did you have the impression that that was her normal form, or was she? Some people have the impression, and I think that this is probably true some of the time, that it's not an accurate, what you're seeing maybe in some contact experiences is not an accurate representation of the being, but something that was maybe mollified a little bit for your benefit, so that you're not scared, or so that it's comforting. But what did you think? Do you think that was, what's your intuition there? Was that how she really looked? Or
I've recently thought that since I have not seen her in that body or that vision again, but I have had some orbs that made me feel like there's a possibility that she is in my life and has been in my life.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a little hard to understand. So I'm thinking more like she appeared to me in that instance as a child to, as you say, not scare me. And I do believe that probably her being is an energy ball of probably beautiful golden light, because I've seen that a few times in my life. So actually they saved my life one time. So
yeah, and we'll get into that experience in this interview. And do you think that it was true what she told you, that those beings that you saw all around you, those smiling beings of all manner of different types, are all around you all the time. And presumably many of us, have this same thing going on, where there's a multitude of different species, tending to us, perhaps. Do you think that was true, that they're here as we speak, assisting in some
I do.
fashion?
I absolutely do. And since I've been getting more telepathy, it's kind of been an amazing thing that's really opened up for me in the last 3 or 4 years. I mean, everywhere I go, I can almost point to you where the Sasquatch families are. Or a lot of times I can just say, they're here, look up, and there they are in a craft, so I'm getting a lot more as I age for some reason with the telepathy. So, I do feel that they're around me. Like I said, I've had just recently an experience with a little gray who healed some of me and my friends at a retreat. And it seems like when I look at all the beings in my mind's eye of that night, and then I see what's out there as ET, and I see what is out there in the angelic realm, and I see, everything, elementals, whatever. I see that's what I sort of was given a glimpse of.
Yeah, I think that is a glimpse of the nature of the higher dimensional realms and our spiritual guides, that they could be all manner of different forms, and species, that are ascended beings. I think these seem to me like maybe ascended beings, that they're in alignment with Source Creator. They're on a spiritual mission. They're not self-interested type of beings, which I'm sure there is a lot of also. But what were the ramifications of that experience going on forward in your life? Did that have a lasting impact on how you felt subsequent to that experience? Did you feel like you were always watched over, given that experience? Was it effective? Was that the whole intention, not to just comfort you in that night, but to comfort you going forward in your life?
I definitely believe that's true. And growing up, it kept me from getting into trouble because I always knew somebody was watching. So while my friends are stealing penny candies at the store, I couldn't because I always felt like, uh-oh.
Right.
Uh-oh.
They're always watching you. So that did have like this consequence, a positive effect, I suppose. It sort of keep
It
feel like we're all better people, when we feel like we're being held to account by someone or something else, and yeah, it seems like it may have had that positive impact. Anything more to say there, or should we move on to the next significant experience?
Well, that pretty much does sum that one up. So I guess we can move on if you'd like. I did have another experience in Alaska with, I think I told you, the Sasquatch being that
in this period when you were.
I was still about. I was still about 4. We left Alaska when I was 5, so that's how I can remember the timeline and what went on. I'll be brief on this, but just kind of throw it out there because later it comes back in my life several times, the same being. I'm a little girl and I'm 4, and we had a split door where the top half would open to the fresh air and the bottom half was closed. And I was sitting at the table and I looked out the window, and we had a cherry tree about 10 feet out, not very far out from the back door. And there is a beautiful, and I'm telling you, a beautiful, huge man bear is what I called him, man bear. And he looked at me and I looked at him, and we locked eyes. I swear he smiled, but I'm 4. But I swear he smiled, and I ran to the door, opened it. I was going to go give him a hug. And I got probably a step, maybe one step out the door when my father grabbed me literally by the seat of my pants and pulled me in and slammed the door. But seeing that being then was, like I said, to me, he smiled. He was my friend. But later, when I was a little older, my father took me to a museum, and which, that's a long time ago for even thinking of a Sasquatch museum out west. But he found one, and a friend, and he took me there, and he confessed to me that it was true, that's what I saw was the man bear.
When you seen Kathleen, when you seen this man bear, did you feel any fear or anything during that, or like a sense of peace, maybe? Or
so it was beautiful, you say?
He was beautiful. I wanted to stroke his beautiful brown. He had reddish brown long hair, and I wanted to go, and I wanted a hug, and I just felt like that's what I would get from him, because he and I locked eyes for quite a while, and I felt a smile. And later in my life, I have seen him twice, both times on craft. And I've seen other Sasquatch, but that particular one, I feel, has something to do, sort of like as if he's got something to do with me. And maybe, I don't know, maybe DNA, maybe, I don't know, maybe he's a guide. I don't know how that works. But
yeah. I wonder what capacity, he is assisting you in your life, or what he's doing. And your father saw it. It seemed that your father, being that he pulled you in and slammed the door, saw him also.
Yes. But he didn't tell me until I was older. Like I said, I was maybe 9 or 10, and that's when he took me to the museum. And this gentleman, wherever this museum was, it was somewhere in Oregon, way back then, had a stuffed type looking, it wasn't real, I don't think, but it was a huge, about a 9-foot Bigfoot in his museum. And as a little girl, I'm just fascinated, and I'm talking to my dad, look, there he is, only this one was a little darker. But so somewhere there's been a a bit of a museum since I was young out there in Oregon. And while my father went and talked to the gentleman, I just went over all the stuff that they had in the museum, and I was fascinated. And anyway, so that was my confirmation that I knew it was a man bear.
So let's move on to, I think when you were 9 years old, you had an anomalous experience where there was at least some high strangeness, probably a contact experience, but I don't know if you had conscious recollection of it or not, but it's significant all the same. The tree incident, where you found yourself under the tree. Do you want to explain that? What happened? Give us the full story of that.
My mother had a break-in, and it scared her, so she put 3 heavy-duty bolt locks on our front door and our back door. You had to open 3 locks plus the door lock to get in and out. And this one morning, I woke up outside under the tree, and I looked around. I'm hearing my mother yelling for me because it was time to get up and go to school. And I looked down, and I have a quilt and a little pillow that was very special that my grandmother made me, and they were laid out as if my bed was all nice and neat and fancy, but I'm out under an oak tree, and I know good and darn well I didn't go to sleep there, and my mother's screaming for me, hurry up, we gotta go, where are you? And she unlocks the door and finds me out there. Of course, she's busy and doesn't pay attention to it. She thought I just slipped out the window or something, which wasn't possible in the windows that I had. And but when I sat up from being out there before, as I'm realizing where I'm at, and I'm looking up at the oak tree, I felt good. And I thought to myself, how come I don't feel like this all the time? What is this good feeling I have? I mean, I felt good, and I can't put any other word on it than I just felt some kind of energized or happy, all over good, whatever good is. And I that's what I never could get over. I kept thinking about that over the years. What happened? And I told myself maybe fresh air. So I started sleeping with all the windows open, but it doesn't do that. It doesn't do. But I do have brief memories of that experience. I was taken. That is the fun.
Is this consciously recalled memories or regression recalled?
Well, regression helped open some things up for me, but this is a memory that I have put together with that timeline, which I wasn't sure before. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been taken a few times, I wasn't sure if my memory coincided with that one, but I'm pretty darn sure it does. And that is the hard thing for me to understand, is that I'm 9 years old, and that's when I left my body and I saw the 2 children. I didn't understand. I kept thinking, I'm too young to have children. How come there's a little girl that looks like me right there? And I was really baffled by that. And I never could quite get that. So that was something that I do remember, seeing those 2 children, and I'm 9 years old. And I knew somehow it belonged to me. I don't understand how or what. I can't say. I don't know. And
so many abductees have reported a similar experience of being quite young and being presented with hybrid children at that young of an age. It seems as though, when it's, just merely biologically viable, to use you in that way. Although I should stipulate that, it could be, it could be voluntary. We don't know, whether there is some kind of agreement on the soul level, but
true.
most people would be disturbed, that they could be using a 9-year-old child in the hybrid program. But I think it is the case that that they use as soon as you're capable of supporting. It's not even like they need you to be capable of supporting, a 9-month pregnancy. They just need you to support and gestate the zygote for 11 or 12 weeks, I think, roughly on average. A couple other things to say. A past guest that we've had on, I don't know if he said this or not, Todd, in our interview. He said the same thing about one particular experience, which I don't think he had any recall of, but he felt amazing afterward. Had some kind of sign that something had occurred, and then afterward, along with his friend as well, who was also present, just felt tremendously good for a little while. I think even into the next day, just this really great euphoria sort of persisted. You never know what happens during a contact experience, like you could have been taken. It could have been similar to, sometimes they take you out of body and they take you into the higher realms, where you experience a euphoria similar to as in a near-death experience, where it's just bliss, you're out of this dense physical reality, and it's great, and so maybe there was just sort of residue of that great experience you had out of the body still sort of lingering, after the experience. And also, it's also common, maybe not common, but it's been reported by abductees of after an abduction experience being left somewhere not appropriate outside in your case. And yeah, there was Bud Hopkins had one abductee who woke up in his garden and then couldn't get back in the house because the doors were still locked and couldn't access the house. And if he would have exited through the house through the door, the door would have been open, and that seemed to kind of legitimize that he was taken and then left out there unnaturally through some means. So that's also something that has been reported. Yeah. Any comment you have, Todd, on this?
No, I'm just taking it in.
What did the hybrid children look like to you? What's your memory? What's your recollection of what?
I could see the little girl. She had her back to me, so I didn't get a clear look at her face. But maybe a side view, a little bit side view. But I thought it was me at 2 years old. I absolutely couldn't believe how much she looked like me. And then the little boy was sort of behind me. I'm on a table looking up, and it was sort of behind me, sitting again on the ground or the floor. And I couldn't see him clear, but I could see he had darker hair. The little girl had white hair like I had when I was little. The little boy had brown hair, and he was about 4. And somehow I just don't know why they had them there at all, first of all, and what they wanted from me with those two.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't, that I recall, they didn't let me touch them, and I couldn't see them directly in their faces. But
Yeah.
from what I could see, like I said, the little girl looked identical to me at 2.
So no features that seem non-human. You know, sometimes like the abductee will notice the resemblance, but yet they'll say, but it had these large black eyes, or,
Well,
you know, weird kind of hair, unkempt hair that was stringy. And
I remember that the hair was thin, so a little thinner than what I had probably, but I couldn't get a good look at the face. Like I said, she really never turned around enough to look at me. It was like I was in the room and they wanted me in the room. I'm feeling more like, because he wanted me back in my body, that somehow, I don't know exactly, but I think somehow my consciousness and my body together needed to be something with these children, but I don't know what. Maybe he put them in my arms. I don't know. I have no, that's something I'm still working on.
yeah, I think the current, you know, thinking around this is that in order for the child to develop properly, that it has to have some contact with the mother, you know. And this could not have been the only contact, you know. This could just be the tip of the iceberg as far as your experiences with those hybrids. You know, this just could be one, you know, memory amongst, you know, many others that are still suppressed, where you had interactions with the hybrid children. But that's the current thinking. That seems right to me, that the mother is required for proper development, emotional development. I think it could be energetic, you know, something to do with your energy, even it just.
That's what I think too, because there was something he wanted me to get in my body for that had to do with those children, and I just
So this was an experience where you came out the body against their wishes.
3 times.
Where were you? Were you on a craft? Do you recall the environment that you were in at the time?
I was in a craft. I remember the lighting being very bright, so bright it hurt my eyes, my physical eyes. And so that's one of the reasons I kept leaving my body, but I just found that I could do it wherever I was there, and I could just pop right out, and I loved it because they're trying to restrain me and I'm trying to look around. I'm curious, you know, what is going on here? So yeah, and again, I found that that's what happened when I was on craft another time. I could just pop out of my body and look around a little bit, you know, until they got angry or whatever, put me back. But yeah, so I had I popped out 3 times and was trying to, like I said, look around. But I wanted to see the children. I had a feeling that there was a reason that there's 2 children on the floor in this, what I kind of felt like it didn't really look like a hospital or a medical office. It was just white and bright lights. And then there was 3 little grays and my usual gray, who's more like 5 foot. And he's the one that telepathy wise said, get back in your body, please, so we can finish. And I kind of felt when I look at that and my other experiences, I really feel like I have given them permission to do these things, that I feel I'm helping in some way. And believe me, sometimes that'll beat you up, because are you helping humanity, or are you helping the grays, as people say, or are you helping who knows what, you know? So I kind of battle with that sometimes, but I feel like I'm doing something that I agreed to for a better reason for humanity. That's the way I.
Yeah, we really don't know. If anyone says that they know for sure the answer to this question as to the true nature of the hybridization program, they don't know. It's fathomable that some of what they say to us, they don't say a whole lot to us about what's going on. And sometimes I think that's because, you know, there are MyLab abductions, you know, subsequent to the ET abductions, where they take you and they try to find out everything they can about, you know, what was going on with the ET interactions and what were they using you for. And they're trying to get as much intel extracted as possible. So I think that's why sometimes they're reticent to go into great depth as to giving you the understanding of what's going on. But
let me ask this question. After this encounter, did you notice any changes in yourself? Like any heightened intuition, anything like that?
Yes. As a matter of fact, at that same age, around 9, my sister and I she was older than me, and she loved to punch me if I didn't do what she said, and I could outrun her. And she was always on my case. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. Wash the dishes, do this. And I would yell back at her like, "You're not my mother." And then she'd swing on me, and I would outrun her, and I'd disappear down the highway or where she thought I was. And then I'd back up and come secretly, and I'd crawl up on the roof. And I found that while I was up on the roof, I could take my third eye, pretty much take my anger in my third eye, mad at my sister, that madness, that energy that I got from my sister. I would focus on a marshmallow type cloud. And if there were several in the sky, that would be best, because then I could pick one, and I would focus my anger on that and send out this energy to that cloud. And within 5 minutes, that cloud would be gone and all the rest would still be there. So I learned I could dissipate the cloud, which also took my anger away. So I did have something new happen, as a matter of fact.
What about like strange dreams? Did you have like strange dreams after that? Or was
Barney Hill?
What's that, Jim? I'm sorry.
Like Betty and Barney Hill, after their contact.
Yes.
I don't think I did. You know why I don't think I did when I look back is I think because I have met the beings when I was 4. And then I met them again at 9. It wasn't strange to me, I think. And again, I don't remember any pain. I don't remember them ever hurting me. I don't, other than that episode where they dropped me, which was not their fault. I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe our military shot a ray at them, or who knows what happened.
That's what I was thinking. We should get into that later on when we talk about that experience. We'll go into that in detail at some point. But that seems to me like, oh my gosh, that might have been an incident where, as we routinely do, if you listen to Stephen Greer, he says that, we, some black sites out in the West, out in the deserts, on average shoot down, 1 to 2 craft per year of ET craft using electromagnetic pulse weaponry. Maybe there are occasions, when they shoot a craft down and they're in the process of an abduction event. And I've never heard of that, but that's in the realm of possibility.
When I was 16 and I had an abduction, it was my lab, and I found that out just in the last few years as well. It was also ET. I want to say it was a craft that was not ours, and it was that's the one that was as big as 3 football fields.
Yeah. Do you want to move to that experience? Is that the next relevant experience in chronological order?
I believe so. As far as I believe so.
Let's move to that experience. I just wanted to add one more comment, just interject real quick about your cloud dissipating experience. We have heard that from another guest. I don't know if you remember, Todd, when we were talking to, I think it was our second Dana Louise interview, and Coley Weber was in the comments and said, ask Dana about cloud popping. And this is something that other people know about and have done, and seems to be something that is possible with psychic ability.
When I was 18, I found a book on yoga, and I found that a high yoga master could do that with the clouds. And I went, oh, that's the first time I've even thought about that, because I'd forgotten that I could even do that. I just forgot about it after a while as I grew up. So it happened.
And just for the audience's sake, it is also common for abductees to have heightened psychic ability after an abduction event for a period. Why? No idea, but that's something that's commonly reported.
Which makes sense because of her heightened intuition after these experiences. So yes, I mean, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But anyway, okay, well, let's move on to the experience when you were 16. Give us the full breadth of that experience, what leading up to it and so forth.
Okay. My best friend and I, we were both 16, and she had a little baby, young, and she needed a sitter, and we shared a little house in Lutz, Florida. We'd both left home, and
I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah.
I used to live
so
by
that's where we were, and it was a little house that was in the middle of orange groves, big, like I don't know how many acres, but quite a few acres. And inside the orange groves was the little house and a little pond. And I'm in the house. I'm actually on the toilet going potty, and I'm looking out the window, and I see some huge dark thing coming just over, and I mean just barely over the tops of the orange groves. And I run out the door, pulling my britches up, because I got to see what this is. And I hollered to my friend Vicky. I said, "Vicky, come out, come out." So we go outside, and totally silent, absolutely silent. But we're both doing, hey, here we are. Stop. Well, they did. They came within, I'm going to say within 100 feet.
What did you see? Describe what you when you first made eye contact with it. What did you see?
It was the craft itself was dark, not it obviously was a metal, but it wasn't any kind of metal I would recognize. It wasn't shiny. It was like a flat black, and there was a big glass front window, huge, like I kind of thought it looked like a big tour bus for somebody off planet or something, because there was this huge, like I said, this glass, the whole front was like glass, and I could see in, and I could see multitudes of beings. And I could see down, it looked like a cigar. And that's all I could see, is just a little bit down the side of it. And there were a few windows or something similar to windows. But as soon as it stopped, Vicky and I, both of us with our mouths open, look up, and I made eye contact with a man in kind of in the center. It seemed like as if he was the pilot or the head guy. I don't know. But my impression was, oh my God, Jesus. And I felt like I was looking at Jesus, and the word purity is still the word that's the only word I can describe what I felt from that man. And he was in white, like a white robe or something to that effect. And then I could see other people standing, like hundreds of people, that looked like they were on a tour bus and looking out.
And you could see them all in the front of the in the front window. You could see hundreds of people in the front. So this is something massive in order to see, just in the front window.
It's so big. And I do remember, before I don't remember things, but I do remember how silent everything went when it came close to us and stopped. Yeah. I mean, totally silent. And I still to this day remember that quite clearly. And that's all we remember. Totally, that's all we remember. Now, my friend and I woke up in our beds.
So there was a discontinuity in your conscious memory where you don't remember how the heck you got to your bed.
Definitely.
So you have missing time.
Quite a bit until the next morning, because we have no idea how long or what. I mean, we just saw it, and then that's all we remembered. And then we woke up. Yeah. When we woke up the next day, we had the worst headaches. Both of us, we were just horrible. I can still remember. It was one of the worst headaches I've probably ever had in my life.
I was just ready to ask if you had any physical effects from this sighting, like headaches and time distortion, things of that nature.
I sure did. And she did too, but she had to go to work. And I ran down to the little store. I'm believing it might have been a Sunday, because the only time I would go get a newspaper was a Sunday, usually. And I'm suspicious that that's what it was. And I remember it was in the fall, like either August or October, something like that. And it was daylight. It was not completely dark, but it was towards evening. But it was daylight when, that I remember. And anyway, I got a newspaper, and evidently when it did leave us, it floated by the University of South Florida, and they had a brand new planetarium that had been opened a few years earlier. And 3 of the professors witnessed it. It came right in front of them, and they drew pictures of it. And they had a picture hand-drawn of the craft in the newspaper, and they said it was as big as 3 football fields in length. And I think if I can remember right, I believe in that article, it said that it came by about 10 p.m. or 10:45 or something like that. So I'm thinking if it was daylight when I saw it, and then it was 10 something when it went over the university, which isn't far from my house and where we lived, that there's definitely 3 hours or something to that effect. That I was with them. I guess.
Is consistent for missing time episodes. Like whatever they did with you. It took 3 hours. That's in the ballpark of average missing time cases, and then they moved on and they didn't cloak themselves, and they have that technology.
Now, I do have some conscious memories of being on craft, and then under hypnosis, a lot more opened up. So, if you want to...
On that craft at that event, or a different experience?
No, at that one.
Okay. Well, is there anything just to make sure we've captured all the detail, though, first, before you go into your memories of being on board? So when you said you saw a multitude of beings or people, did it look like this was all piloted? This was entirely piloted by humans, or did it seem like there was other non-humans on the craft, or what did you see in the glass? I mean, you saw the Jesus-looking figure.
Yes. Now he did not look exactly human. More like, I'm going to guess and say maybe a tall white, or northern. I'm not sure. I just know that the whiteness and the purity word just stayed with me, and the Jesus thinking for some reason. Now he didn't have a beard. He was everything was white, white hair.
You got a good look at him.
Oh, definitely.
Because it was close, because it was very low to the ground. It was super low, right? Like just above the treetops, just the orange trees.
Yes.
So tall whites are... I'm thinking you could be right about that it may have been the tall whites, because you also noticed that there was some uniformed people.
Yeah.
I think when people see these blonde-haired beings, that have uniforms, I think it's the tall white variety, because they have a lot of involvement with our military, a lot of collaboration with our military. I think that they use a lot of our things and materials, for their own purposes, and if they looked like that they were in military fatigues,
they did. The ones that I remember. The reason I remembered, mostly consciously now, this is consciously, I've always remembered this, is that 3 military men in uniform were to my right, in front or beside a door, and then sort of in the middle of the room, I could only see from my shoulder, say this way. I couldn't see behind me whatsoever. And I didn't leave my body that I know of in that particular.
Now this was on board the craft.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
let's go to that. Let's give us the full picture of what you experienced on board the craft. And again, this came from delayed conscious memory or regression memory?
What I'm telling you now is what I remember consciously. And then
right
right
after the event, or did it emerge?
I've always remembered it. I've always remembered, but I didn't understand. So I kind of put it out of my mind, but I've always clearly remembered the beings. And what I remembered is the 3 military men on my right. I said to myself on craft, and I still remember saying it to myself, they don't have telepathy. They can't speak to me. They must be human. They must be military, because I saw the uniform. Then on a little more to my left, there were 3 other beings that were in uniforms, different than ours, but looked
non-human.
Non-human, but they looked human, but none of them were over, I don't think much over 5 foot, 5'5" maybe. They weren't very tall, but they were speaking telepathy-wise amongst themselves, and I could hear them. And so I knew that there was a difference instantly of, these beings or whatever, and then these beings, and I kept thinking, I want to go see Jesus.
Were the non-humans in the same uniform as the humans?
Well, no, it was like our military type uniforms on the Earth beings, the humans. It was, I don't know which military, but they were definitely high up and sort of dressy uniforms. And then, like I said, the other people had matching type uniforms, but they were different, totally different than ours. They were not Earth that I know of.
Okay.
But similar, similar. And I kind of felt like I liked what they were saying telepathy wise, even though I don't remember.
What were they saying? What did you catch of that exchange?
I was catching things like as if they were saying things like, this is what's going on in the future. This is what, we are interacting and we're doing things for our future. I was just getting things sort of like, although I'll tell you one thing I did get from them telepathically is they did not trust our military uniformed people that were next to them. I got that. That's why I say, as I got older and understood more and realized things and read things about my lab, I feel that was a my lab experience, and that's why they probably wiped our brains, and that's why we had the headaches. So, because that was different than all my other experiences. I came back and I felt wonderful. That was a whole different story.
Yeah, and I should just mention for the sake of the audience, a famous case of having headaches after the contact experience, a contact experience, was the Betty and Barney Hill case, where they both had, I think they also described it as the worst headache of their lives.
Yes, yes. That Kathleen had said it hurt bad.
Oh, real bad.
Yeah.
Real bad.
So they were talking amongst themselves something regarding the future, what they were doing, that maybe with future timelines, or something they were doing was going to have an impact on the future. So the subject matter had to do with the future in some kind of way, but that's as much as you could recall or glean from.
Right. And I also, on that experience, I also saw my Bigfoot. His back was to me, but he was working on something that resembled like a big computer screen. He was facing that. And that I remember clearly, as well as, like I said, the 6 people that were with me, and then my gray, which was beside me, and 3 little grays. And then that's all I remember consciously.
Now, when you say your Bigfoot, you're saying that this was, you think, the same Bigfoot that you saw when you were...
By the color and by the size. And again, on this craft and this experience, I didn't see his face. He had his back to me, but it was the same color. It was the same size, and it was male. And
it was at least maybe the same species. And for anyone who's incredulous, I mean, this is just simply, it's a humanoid species that has hair all over its body, and they're intelligent and they're technological, some of them. And you should just regard it as, without all of the baggage, that Bigfoot carries with it. It's just it's some kind of humanoid species that, as one of its features, it has a hair-covered body and is robust, in its muscular disposition. Okay, so the telepathic beings, just to clarify this, they did not look like the Jesus being. They were different than the Jesus being?
No, they had a brown hair. One was female, 2 were males. And like I said, they weren't very tall. They weren't as tall as the ones on the right, which were our military. And I kind of knew that they weren't they were different, or weren't human, or weren't from our planet, I should say. They looked human in every way, except smaller and brown hair. And they had the skill of not needing to use their mouth or their voice. So
the tall whites, according to Charles Hall, did speak verbally with their human counterparts. That was one of the odd things about the tall whites, is that they may have possessed telepathic capability, but they often, at least in the vicinity of Charles Hall, the Air Force member during the 60s who experienced this, they would speak verbally. So what else did you see? Anything else that you can recall? Anything even small?
That's all I.
What did you notice about the technology or the environment or the room? Was there anything that you noticed?
It was huge. It was so big. Like I said, I could only see the half. For some reason, I could only see from, my sides and then like half a circle. And it was huge, and there was technology on the walls of some sort. They looked similar to our computer screens, but
monitors and so forth.
Yeah. But I didn't know what that was back then. I'm sure. But that's all I consciously can remember. But unconsciously, I could see that I was in an area like, when doctors do surgeries and they have these overhead glass above sort of rooms where they can look down on the patient.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Well, unconsciously, when I looked up, under hypnosis, when I looked up and got the clear vision of what was above, it was huge. It was huge up there, and it was glassed in, and there were hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of beings up there looking down, and I was down, and I was the one they were looking at, and that was kind of strange. But
they were all looking at you, these beings, through the glass. Wow.
Yes.
What the hell?
That's what opened up more under hypnosis. And I remember a little of this from both times that I was on craft with my gray. He would take a little bar type thing and kind of slowly put it over my body, like scan me.
Type device, yeah.
And I remember that, and then I saw a little more of that under hypnosis. A little more that held it over my ovaries quite a while.
Yeah, many abductees have reported the rod-like device, which seems to be multifunctional. If you remember Todd, Nancy Thames seemed to think it was used for altering your vibration so that they could, when they took you out of your room into the craft, they could resonate you at a higher frequency so that they could pull you through solid matter. And she thought that had something to do with vibration and changing your vibration. Other abductees seem to think that it has something to do with inducing altered states of consciousness, and some people that they would see the rod come at them, and as soon as it touched behind their ear, they were out, or they remembered nothing from that point on, as if it had some kind of effect on consciousness when it touched them.
Speaking of things touching, have you ever found any unexplained marks? I don't know, scars, injuries, things like that, from this encounter?
I didn't know to look, to be honest with you. I never thought to look. I do have a suspicious scoop mark in my knee that appeared in the last 3 years. That's very weird, very strange. But to be honest, I never knew to look. I didn't think to look. I just didn't.
Most people probably
nothing. Yeah, but nothing from that period, right?
Nothing that I'm aware of.
Right.
Now, I don't know. I felt like my friend was with me on the craft somehow, and her memories, she's still my friend. We've been lifelong friends, and she says, I remember the UFO, and that's all she said. And I've asked her to write it out and tell me what she does remember, but she doesn't. She won't do it. I've asked 2 or 3 times. Maybe she will in the future, but maybe she doesn't remember. It was. They made us forget. Right. They did. Yeah. So.
And there was also what some abductees, Lala Bright in particular, have described as the alien Xanax, a kind of disinterest in wanting to think about or talk about the experience. So you had some conscious recollection of it afterward, but yet there was something unnatural going on as far as your interest or lack thereof in the event after the fact. Yeah, which is very typical.
Again, after that episode, somewhere during that time, I had learned I had other psychic skills. I could take a ring or jewelry from somebody and hold it in my hand, and I could get an instant message for them, past, present, and future. And I found somebody that I had done that with and given a reading to, who chased me down 20 years later and said it was the most accurate reading they'd ever had, and could I please do it again? I said, it's not the right time, and no, I don't do that anymore. But I had the gift of doing touching things and getting energy messages from jewelry and personal things like that. So I did have quite a few other things that I didn't even realize that were coming about during those years, my teen years.
And seemed to be directly correlated with that particular event. It seemed to follow from that event afterward. Before you didn't have the ability, and afterward you did.
Right.
So that's clairvoyance, though, isn't it?
Well, I didn't know, though. I mean, I didn't know how I got that gift, or it just appeared. You know what I mean? It just started happening, and I just knew that I would get messages. So yeah, so there was some of that, and a few other little psychically things that started appearing in my world.
Why don't you describe for us what you would experience in your conscious awareness when you would touch someone's jewelry? Because I think you said in the Mr. Gray interview that you would see past, present, and future at once suddenly. And how did that manifest in your mind, or what was that experience like of seeing past?
It was
even just past and present, not even future, just at once, seems.
It would come instantly to me, and it was a. I don't have another word besides knowing. It was a knowing. I just knew what I was supposed to say, and what would come out would be something that had affected them in their past. Sometimes it might be so and so passed away recently or something, and then present. I see that you're getting a new job and a new life. You're moving, you're getting married, whatever, or you're going to have a baby, whatever. And then the future would be, I see some trips. I see you traveling, something to that effect. And I would see this truly clear on each person that I held their jewelry. Even sometimes they would try to trick me and bring their grandmother's jewelry or something like that. But again, I knew it was grandmother's. I could get that clear,
Really?
That,
Yeah.
Yeah, just a knowing. I can't really explain it. I haven't done.
You didn't feel like there was all of a sudden just words in your mouth that you like. Sometimes I will get telepathic experience. I had an odd one the other night where I was in a hypnagogic state, and all of a sudden I just sort of verbalized something that it just came to me, but like it wasn't like a knowing. It was almost just like I didn't know what it meant at all. I didn't know anything about it. It was just like the language just sort of like suddenly almost came out of my mouth. I was by myself. I didn't really fully verbalize it, but I almost verbalized it. This expression, the saying just came to me. Did it feel like just the message was right there, like just sort of came out of you, or did it feel like more of like a conceptualized knowing?
I actually never thought it was me. I thought that I was getting some message from sort of like creator, from like heavenly beings or something. I'm not sure. I've never yet to this day questioned who is giving me these messages, who is guiding me, who's talking to me. I have prayed and asked to see my guides, and I have seen several of my guides thanks to prayer and asking. But I just, whomever is giving me these messages has saved my life many times. And to me, it's creator or angelic beings. I don't know, but I just
because it seems to have positive outcomes. It seems to
always
result in things that are good. Okay. Now, did we cover entirely the My Lab abduction experience? Was there anything insofar as the regression memories that we didn't touch on? Any bits and pieces that we left out, or was that about it for that?
I think that's about it.
Kathleen, did you had said, and I don't think you said it here, but I watched Mr. Gray's stuff too. You experienced waking up outside. Your house was locked. Can you tell us just a small amount about this? Like walk us through the experience of waking up outside?
That's when I was 9 years old, and I heard I was sound asleep, and I heard my mother screaming for me, where are you? Where are you? Time to get up, go to school. And I hear her unlocking the front door, and she sticks her head out, and she sees me laying in the grass. And but before she got the door open, I'm sitting up. I'm waking up, and I'm sitting up, and I look down, and I realize my quilt is all laid out nice and neat, as if my bed was made, and my pillow was all fluffed up. And I thought, what the heck? What am I doing out here? And I had no recollection whatsoever at that moment. But as I'm sitting up, that's when I felt so good. That word good came to me, and my whole body, my whole being felt wonderful. And so I just grabbed my pillow, my blanket, and I went in the house and got ready for school. Wondering, though, with scratching my head, what the heck happened, And my mother never mentioned it. She and I never talked about it.
Yeah, and it's fascinating. The house was locked, and you're outside.
Yes, with 3 bolt locks. And again, we had these, they call them jalousie windows, and these little glass bar type windows. There's no way to get out the window. No way. So evidently I went through the window or through the roof, or
Okay.
I don't have memory of that.
All right. Yeah, I was just curious. I remember hearing you saying about that, and it was just, to me, I was like, well, how did you get outside? Was that something that you was abducted and then they left you out right there? Yeah, that's
and it was a busy street. It was a busy street. It's not one you'd want to wake up, sleeping outside in.
Right.
But,
all right. Yeah. Thank you for answering that. I was very curious.
And you also had a lot of did you have, during when you were younger, other anomalous things happen? I think you mentioned in the Mr. Gray interview that you would have an effect on lights sometimes, and that you would cause the bulbs to blow out.
oh, they would burst. They literally, I didn't know it was my energy that would be, hormonal. I was going through that age of changing, and I didn't realize it was my energy. If I walked into a room and my energy was off, completely off, something would blow up. Something would blow up.
Now, when you say off, you mean like if you were upset or something?
Yeah.
Like if you were going through some kind of emotions, that this would
Yes. If I had too much energy or anger or whatever might be, yes, emotion, it would be emotion. And I'd walk into a room, the light bulb would burst. And that happened several times during those years. And I've touched a few computers over the years, and they kind of went out too. So I think I still do that once in a while.
And that kind of takes us back to when you was popping clouds. You had your anger, and that anger was focused, and the cloud disappeared.
I did that. I did that in my 60s to show one of my ex-boyfriends. I did it one time, but I found that doing it now instead of when I was young is if there's too much metal in the sky, if it's not real clouds, I can't do it. I can absolutely feel the difference. If real clouds, I can still do it. To this day, I could probably do it, but not with the chemtrails or whatever's going on up there. So,
well, so what's the next relevant experience that we could move to? I don't know if maybe the intervention experience where the orbs manifested, or what's chronologically.
What happened next would be I had gotten a divorce. I'm in my 30s, and I had a cousin who was a Marine that I loved dearly, and I needed to get out and go hear some live music. So I drove and met him. I knew he would go there certain nights and have dates, and so I went and met him at a nightclub called the Roadway Inn on Highway 301 outside of Tampa, I guess it is. And I've never been a drinker. I got to make this clear because one is my mother was an alcoholic, and it's just turned me against it. And I can't drink. If I drink 2 drinks, I'm going to throw up. And so I never drink 2. I might drink 1, and it might be a 151, but that's it, 1 drink. So I went to this nightclub and visited with my cousin. There was only 2 or 3 people in there. He had a nice young lady with him, and around midnight, I had my 1 drink, and he walked me to the car, and I was headed home. I just needed a little live music and a hug from my cousin, and off I went. And I got in my car, and that's all I remember. And then I woke up at 3 a.m. in the middle of the highway on 301. The lights on, the car running, it's in park, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm right in the middle of the road. If another car had come, they could have hit me. I mean, and I'm waking up, and I in my own mind thought, I'll bet the bartender roofied me. And so for years I told all the young girls, don't leave your drinks, watch out, don't, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't have the hangover feeling the next day. And under hypnosis regression, I do remember going up in the car with the car. I remember that. And then I had those approximately 3 hours missing time again.
Okay. So Kathleen Martin was right. Sometimes they take the entire vehicle with you, which a lot of times you hear, the opposite, where, they normally, will pull over and, well, they'll induce you to pull over, they have, or maybe you see something, sometimes you see something and you pull over to get a better look at it. And then they take you out of your car, even on a busy street sometimes, and take you up into the craft. So on this occasion, describe in full detail what you consciously recollect. Do you have memories of being in the car? Were you sitting in the seat? So they just took you. They didn't take you separately from the car. They took you in the car.
They took the whole car. I had. It was one of the real bright blue lights, white blue. It was kind of more white than blue, but I felt like it was blue. And
the beam was bright blue. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I kind of remember that, and then I don't remember anything except waking up. And the funny thing was, like I said, I wasn't tired, I wasn't sleepy, and I had 1 drink, which there's just no reason in the world to be sound asleep in the middle of the road like that. It was just scary. It was very scary for me at that point.
And so when you came to, like, it wasn't, because sometimes it's pretty seamless where, you're abducted and then all of a sudden you're driving again, and your foot's on the gas and you're moving and stuff, but you feel all of a sudden odd, like there was some kind of something that just happened, but you just were parked at a standstill on the road and woke up. And did you feel like you woke up out of like a sleep? So you knew you had regained consciousness, like in many cases, abductees didn't even know that they were unconscious for a period. They just all of a sudden, were put back, and I don't know how they do it, but they make you, feel like as if there was complete continuity with the events, and you didn't know that you were unconscious, but you felt like you had woken up.
I absolutely did. And I was shocked. I mean, like I said, that just doesn't happen. And I was very healthy and very, in my 30s, and there's just no reason for it. So my explanation to myself was I was roofied. Again, the next day I woke up and I had no hangover like I had been. So, but that's what I used until I went under QHHT and found that there was more to it than that. Mm-hmm. I was taken.
Was anything else uncovered during that regression?
No, that's one I'd like to revisit. That's one of the other 2 that I would like to revisit again, which I'm pretty sure I can get a way to do that in the future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes when you try to, target these, and the only thing that comes up is, the one experience, of being taken up into the craft, it's maybe because you're not ready to learn about the rest of it. sometimes maybe, that there's a moment in time when that will be accessible through regression, and maybe you just weren't ready to have that reveal. But okay, yeah, let's move on from that then. What's the next experience, otherworldly experience?
Well, probably the orbs. I'm leaving out all the ghosts and the shadow beings and the other things that at this point I'm
We'll come back to all that.
Yeah.
Mostly focusing on the UFO. So the next experience would probably be the golden orbs. This would be, let's see, 2006. My daughter and I were on the freeway at rush hour, 5 o'clock, 5:10, heading south of Tampa. And everybody's doing 80. Now, this is a brand new Honda Pilot. It's 3 months old, brand new. And my daughter's driving and I'm in the passenger seat. And I see, somehow I can see, but I see a lady coming at us, but I see her drop something on the floor and go like, with holding the wheel, but leaning over to reach for something. And I just instantly knew she was going to hit us head on. Now she's still quite a ways. Oh, she's still in her lane at this point when I see this and I realize that she's going to hit us. She hadn't even left the road yet. So it's kind of strange, but that's what I saw. And just as I had realized that and saw that and got that thought that she's out of control and she's going to hit us, 2 bowling ball size orbs appeared between my daughter and I. And they were so bright and so beautiful and so golden. I can't even explain how beautiful they were. Oh my gosh. They were beautiful. And they were just floating between us. And one came over to by my ear, and it telepathically said, "Tell your daughter not to turn the wheel. Hold the wheel steady. She's going to want to. Don't let her." And at that time, when they said that, they gave me a vision of 2 timelines at the same time. They kind of slowed down time, and I saw one timeline where we were rolling. We were getting hurt real bad, and the other one was the one, I guess, is that they wanted me to take. And so I told her, I said, "Tiffany, hold the wheel. Hold the wheel straight. Don't turn." And somehow she listened, thank God. And then that one went kind of like popped and it disappeared. And then the other one came over to my ear, over right by my ear. And I'm just in awe. These things are so beautiful. I told myself in my head, I'm going to die, and these are my angels, and I'm okay. Look at this. Angels came to be with me, and I'm okay with this. I'm really thinking this is it. I mean, we're doing 80, and we're going to get head on. We're the first car that she'll hit, the lady will hit. And so this other orb comes in. It says, "Turn your body to look at your daughter." In other words, turn my whole body and look at your daughter and look at her. The way they put it to me was like, look at her like you've never seen her before, or you're never going to see her again. In my head, again, I thought, okay, I'm getting ready to die. And they're telling me that my last vision will be my beautiful daughter. And so I did that. I turned and looked at my daughter, and bam, we got hit. Wait, before it went pop like the other one and disappeared. And then we got hit head on. And I was thrown into the windshield, completely thrown in. The airbag did not deploy, and my seatbelt did not hold me. I was thrown completely into the dash. And if I had been straight, sitting straight, it would have been my face and my neck broken. No way around it. But because they had me turn to look at my daughter, I got hit here. And I had a compound fracture there. Some ribs in my foot got broken in a couple places. But there were no other injuries on anybody else. And it was an 8-car involvement. So that's, they saved my life.
Do you believe that these orbs were sentient beings or spirit guides, or?
Oh my goodness.
Maybe they were extraterrestrials.
The love that they radiated, and there's no other word than the love. Oh my gosh. Like I said, I felt like they were the angels, and they're here, and I'm checking out now, and it's okay, because look who's with me, these golden beauties. I was just fascinated.
Yeah, I find it remarkable how you're describing, like I'm trying to imagine, golden orb, but the way you're describing it is that they were overwhelmingly beautiful, so not just an orb of golden light. There's something more as to warrant your description of overwhelmingly beautiful, and that's like the interesting thing to me that I can't wrap my head around. Why? What is there any? I guess it's ineffable. It can't be expressed, but contrary to just like we've seen with computer graphics, can create a glowing orb of light. What was different about the orbs that was so beautiful?
These were, I knew instantly they were beings and alive somehow. Somehow I knew, and there was like a bit of a pulse, sort of a pulsating and a movement within the gold, the beauty, but yet they also radiated out of this light that was just, and like I said, pure love. I knew it had to be angels. I mean, I didn't know any word.
And did that love kind of calm you in what would have otherwise been a very, trepidatious moment?
Yeah. And my daughter, she got her airbag did deploy, and she got like a burn on her wrist from the airbag, and I think her knee might have hit into the dash, but no, like I said, no other injuries. And one lady in the incident was pregnant, so I was real thankful that nobody else got injured, and my injuries were fixable. So.
Have you ever encountered these orbs again after that event?
Not yet. I have visited it under QHHT, and I was told by them that they come from where I originated from. I will go back to them when I transition. I was excited. I was ecstatic. I don't know where that is. I don't understand, but they were my people somehow.
Interesting, yes.
And I loved that. I thought, oh, okay, people have people, in other realms. How beautiful. So I sort of was told, I'm from the gold realm, whatever that means. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure. Still working on
that. Too, to remark that they seem to sort of split up the task between the two of them. One sort of had the task of telling you to look at your daughter, and then what was the other one doing? It told you to.
The first one told me to have my daughter with the wheel stick.
Yeah.
And the second one told me to look at her. And that's why I kind of was thinking, these are angels. They're taking me home. I'm getting ready to go. They want me to see my daughter. What a lovely last vision, That's what I thought. And then boom, it wasn't like that at all. We lived.
And they chose like a last second sort of intervention, like that could have been like, because there's different things that they do, I guess they're not always the same beings and they might have different methods, but in the case of like one of our past abductees, Byron Lacey, they would typically tell him before he'd even got in the car, not to go this way or don't go on this road telepathically or something like that. So it's just interesting, the kind of different types of interventions. Like for some reason they chose to, right before the accident, step in then and get you to position yourself basically so that you could withstand the forces better than you would naturally. Yeah, that's quite an amazing experience.
Where I went, I didn't lose consciousness at all. I did slam into the dash, but I didn't lose consciousness. And as soon as the paramedics got there, all I could talk about was the orbs. And as soon as I got to the hospital, all I could talk about was the orbs. And all the doctors are wanting to fix me and find out things. And all I could do was talk about the orbs, So they probably think that I hit my head. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Everywhere I went, I talked.
Yeah. And your daughter didn't see them, though. She didn't perceive them.
She did not. She did not see them.
Mm-hmm.
I wish she had. Oh, my goodness. They were beautiful. Yeah. Again, they pulsated a movement within them. It wasn't like an electric light. It was like liquid gold movement. Bright gold, though. I'm brighter than any gold I've ever seen on our Earth at this point. But yeah, beautiful being.
And how old was you when you seen this event happen?
2006. I don't know how old I was. Up there in age. I was born in 51. So yeah, it was 2006 when that happened. And
so probably in your 50s. Well, let's cover the rest of the ET experiences, and then before we finish out, maybe we'll touch a little bit on some of the paranormal things that you've seen.
I can tell you when the last time I was taken, it was about, that I know of, was a couple years ago. I was driving on the interstate heading north, leaving Tampa, and my exit, just before my exit, 1 mile before my exit, is a great big lake on the left-hand side of the road on the freeway. And then, you know, when you see the lake, that it's 1 mile ahead is your exit. So I'm driving, I see the lake, and I'm driving, and I think, gosh, this is a lot longer than 1 mile. And I look over, as I thought that thought, I look to my left, and there's the lake. And I knew, when I saw that, I knew that they had put me back again, somehow time jump and back. And I caught that one, you know, consciously. So I know that's about the last time that I'm aware that they took me, whether it was physical or consciously, I don't know. They have taken just my consciousness a few times, I've found. So, but yeah, that wasn't too long ago.
Right. It's hard to parse sometimes whether they've just taken your consciousness or your physical body, because a lot of times when you're in just your etheric body, you might not even know it. You might think that you're physically there.
Well, they have given me another kind of a gift with it happened the first time about 5 years ago. I was with my boyfriend at the time, and we had a roommate, and she was in the back seat. And we're near Roswell. We're in Nevada driving, and I bilocated. Well, first of all, we saw a craft. I pointed it out. I said, "Look, guys, there's a craft," and it was a typical little single type saucer, just a little saucer shaped thing. And the next thing I realized, I'm in that craft. And I'm looking at a being who has his back to me at first. And then he turns around, and we both look at each other shocked, you know, like he looks at me like, how are you on my craft? And then he obviously could see me by the look on the shock. And then I'm looking at him like, I don't know how I'm here, you know, kind of thing. And we look at each other, and then somehow he does something and blocked me, and I zoomed back into my body. And I had driven quite a little ways. So I realized that was the first experience I had with like bilocating. I mean, I was driving. I was kind of scared. I thought, oh my gosh, I could have killed somebody. But, you know, I was in full control. And so I realized that I had bilocated. Well, I've been doing that a little bit more lately over the last 3 years, quite a bit more.
So that seemed accidental.
It was that. I had no control over it. It just happened.
Yeah.
I'll have to draw.
Why does that happen? There's been abductees that have reported that same thing, where they'd be looking up at a UFO, and then all of a sudden they were in the UFO looking down at their body. You know, John Mack has linked this in with the dual identity phenomenon within the abduction subject, where some of these abductees feel like they're human and they're ET, or that their soul might be split somehow, you know, that they're down here, part of their consciousness is down here in the physical body, and then the other portion of it is in an alien body on a craft. And sometimes there's this moment where you're connected with that other portion of yourself for whatever reason, and you or sometimes, you know, it seems like maybe that they do it, you know, but it seemed like based on the reaction of the other occupant in the craft that they didn't expect you, right?
No, he didn't, because he had his back to me when I first realized I was there. When I first got that realization, oh my God, I'm in a craft, and I could see the back side of him. He turned around, and then his jaw dropped and my jaw dropped, because we looked eye to eye. And then, like I said, somehow he did something and blocked me, and I just zoomed. And I zoomed really quickly, not like when I left my body to go up there. That was different. This was a real quick zoom. I was like, whoa.
Mhm. Yeah.
Back slower next time or whatever. It was pretty scary. But yeah, that was my first experience with bilocating. And since then, I've been doing it here and there, and I don't really have control over it. It just happens a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. I'm learning to be aware of it, and hopefully learn from it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Why does it happen? Why is it random? Is it random? Is it definitely random, or is there some pattern or some reason for it? Is there some purpose, or is it just a complete, aberrant happening, that wasn't supposed to happen? Yeah, we don't really know. Let's get to last thing before we get into a little bit of the paranormal stuff before we close out. The event where you broke your rib, or somehow you had a broken rib. I guess we did go into this, and
We touched on it. Yes.
yeah.
Yes, that was my
Story of
took me to the RV and dropped me. Yes. So, but that was to me, that was a blessing, because, like I said, it started me on my spiritual path. Even though I'd started many times before, like we all do, we put it away and forget about what we're doing. But this time I stuck with it. I realized that I'm here, and the experience is important.
How did that experience start you, or because you broke your rib, you realized that it was a real physical thing happening, or how did that experience?
Yes. Well, because I did remember the falling and, the whole, that part of it. And, At first I thought the ETs were bad at that moment, after that. Before then, I never had any negative whatsoever. I thought they were blessings and angelic beings, and I was blessed to experience it. In this case, I got angry and mad and lower vibrations, from the experience. And it made me want to learn to protect myself psychically, energetically. So I started heavily studying everything, everything, and until I felt confident that I had mastered that. But then I look back and I realized that I needed to learn those skills anyway, but that it opened me to my spiritual path. I had to start talking about this. I had to start explaining sort of my life, because my family just thinks I'm nuts, and I don't care. They haven't experienced anything like this, so they don't know.
Yeah, of course they would. Of course they would.
Kathleen, why do you think that you had these experiences throughout, as a child, clear up until you were an older adult? Why do you believe that you were contacted?
I don't really know. I'm a little different in my family, in that I'm the only left-handed one. I'm the only one with green eyes. So I thought maybe I'm different that way. Maybe I don't know. But I've always had a little bit of psychicness, and I'm wondering if that had anything to do with it. I remember being a little girl in Alaska, and my dad pointed out an airplane, and I said, airplane crashed. And my dad sat right there and watched it crash after I said that. Now, I didn't bring it down. Trust me, I saw it psychically crashing. And I found out later on that really happened. So I think that when I look back, I've always had some kind of a different sort of a psyche, a little heightened or something. And so, and maybe they're manipulating that. Maybe they're in control. Maybe I'm hybrid. I don't know. I've had my DNA ran, and I do have a lot of what they call junk DNA that they have no idea what it is, but they didn't come and arrest me after. So I don't think that they wanted me as an alien being. I don't think.
And you found out that you were Rh negative, I think, right?
I'm Rh negative. Yes, I'm 90-something% Briton, and then German and Celtic and Basque. I have Basque. I have a kind of a bizarre.
And then a touch of Native American, if I remember right.
Yes, Sioux, Lakota Sioux, and Seneca on my
That's an interesting combination. And I remember you mentioning in the Mr. Gray podcast that there's a commonality amongst, I think you said abductees, where they tend to be, I guess this is the case. I'm curious where you heard this, that many of them tend to be Native American and or Celtic.
I read that several places. I'm not sure where it comes from, but I have read that over my life.
Yeah.
And I can get that. So I accepted.
I've had recently a synchronicity about that. I brought this up when we were talking to a Native American, or no, it was actually after he had left the podcast and we were talking amongst ourselves. I brought it up about an insider who said that the Black Ops target, for whatever reason, in particular, Native American and Celtic lineages. And the very next day, I started to prepare for the next guest and watched an interview with him where he mentioned that exact same thing, that he had heard from Chris Bledsoe, that there is an interest in Native American and Celtic lineages. And he also mentioned the green eye thing. So there's something to that. I haven't quite got to the bottom of it yet. There's some information out there that suggests that Celtic peoples are somehow connected with the Pleiades or the Pleiadian extraterrestrials somehow, surprisingly.
I've heard that before. I don't know where it came from, or maybe I read it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, there's some kind of mystery there.
Kathleen, how long have you been doing CE5?
The first time I did it, I'll be honest with you, I was 14 years old. And I did it intuitively. The same girl that was with me in 1967 on the MyLab experience was with me. We were 14 years old. We were on an island in Florida called Anna Maria Island, and it was dark, maybe 9:30 at night, and we were laying in the water. It was summer, and we were looking up, and I saw a red light, similar like to an infrared, just a solid red light that didn't match the sky, and we watched it for a little bit, or I did, and then I pointed it out to my friend, and I said, I don't know why I did this, but I said, let's ask it to turn right. And so somehow we focused on our little minds to have it turn right, and it did. Okay, we were shocked, and then let's have it go left. And it did. And we played with this little red light in the sky for probably 30 minutes. Everywhere we wanted it to go, it did. So then we wanted to go get the parents and show the parents. And we ran into the house, and they we have a UFO out here that's, doing tricks for us or whatever we said. They wouldn't come out and look. They never did come out and look. And then when we went back out, we couldn't find it. So I actually intuitively was doing it at 14 years old. And then I started doing it. I guess I started doing it on my own without others. Here and there, whenever I'd see a clear sky and I'd be out at night, I would just ask them to come, and they would. I didn't have to meditate. I didn't have to anything. I'd just say, can I see you? Can you show me? Can you flash? Can you something? And I would always get them to come. Then 7-8 years ago, I wanted to show a boyfriend, and so I asked him to come, and he and his friend were there, and it came. So I guess I've been doing it since I was 14. When I moved to Florida, I got invited to a group here and started doing it with groups. And every single time that I asked them to appear, and they did, every single time. Every time.
From 4 years old, your first, when things very first started to happen, and then at 9 years old, after that, you kind of wanted to keep communicating, correct?
Yes.
And that's why you did the CE5.
Yes. I like I said, I was always fascinated, and I've never had any fear or any PTSD regarding any of that. I mean, I have that from our daily 3D lives, but I don't have it from anything in my spiritual experiences.
No.
So I've actually in my prayers prayed more. Please give me more. Let me meet more beings. Let me, give me more experiences. So I'm open.
Okay. All right. I was just very curious, because that's what it sounds like, that you have been pretty much your life been drawn to UFOs and extraterrestrials, things like that. So yes. Now I have a question. Jim, he lit out for a minute. I would like to, is it okay if I share some of your photos that you shared with us?
Oh, please.
And you explain a little bit about what they are? All right, let me bring up this window here. All right, can you tell, what is this that we're looking at here? Is this from a CE5?
Yes, it is. I was in Gainesville, and I asked them to come. Sometimes I take pictures when I'm at CE5s. I just take pictures of the sky, and I don't look at them until later or even the next morning sometimes. Oftentimes they give me these gifts and blessings that I don't see with my eyes, my visible eyes. I don't see it, but I find it on my camera, and this particular one, I asked them to bless us and bless my little group, and that's what I got. And it kind of flashed, it showed up like this, and I got the picture, and then it kind of flashed and disappeared.
Yeah, very fascinating. And I'm going to switch to the next one. You can kind of go through that one. So what are we looking at here?
This, I love this. I think this is I caught a portal opening. Just as that became into a brighter circle, sort of a brighter blue circle. And then it, of course, it kind of did a flash and disappeared as well. But I felt like that one might be a portal opening.
Very interesting. And how about this one?
I love that. I don't know what that is. Again, it was I was in Gainesville at CE5, and I asked them to show and give me some blessings, and that's what I got. I don't know. I sometimes I look at it and I think it looks like a craft. Other times I think it looks like some kind of a blue energy orb, or I'm not sure what that is, but it's beautiful.
Like a plasma ball or something.
A plasma, yeah, that's what I think of that one. More of a plasma.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And then I lost the page here. And how about this one? Is that the continuation of this one?
Yes, it is.
Looks like it's like almost like cell division, like it's splitting or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I thought too. Although I couldn't visibly see that with my eyes, but I got it on.
And now tell us about this interesting picture.
I love that. That was about 2 years ago at Darby Ranch. Mike Merberg owns Darby Ranch, and he has years of experience on his sacred land there. And I got blessed to be invited. Above the colors, all the colors in the background, there's a little fire pit back there. It's probably about 20 feet away from me. And then there's about 25 people circling the fire pit. And I was sitting in a gravity chair, one of those gravity chairs. And actually in the front of the little colored mass there is my two knees. You can see my knees. Well, I had my friend was next to me in a gravity chair, and we were looking up at the sky, and I felt a being, and I had these I had binoculars that have infrared. They're kind of cheapies, but I didn't know how to operate them. I'd just gotten them, and I didn't really know how to hit the button to take a picture. And I kept feeling something right there at my knees. And I just energetically. So I picked up my phone and I put it on night vision because I didn't want to flash everybody or do anything and mess up the group. And I took a couple pictures of what was between my knees. And that's what I came up with. Now, Kathleen Martin just recently saw that and she said to me, that's a gray. And I'll just leave it at that.
And you know,
That's wild. I mean, it's like bright magenta pink. I mean,
and I could not see it. I could feel it, but I could not see it at all. And I took.
How does that happen? How does that happen? You know, to get the colors, you know, like that. You know,
and I gravitated towards this picture because Stephen Greer showed.
Oh yeah, it looks a little bit like Stephen Greer's picture. I know.
Yeah, he showed a picture of a CE5 that he was doing, and it's remarkably. It's not the same.
Reminiscent of it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. It was about, I'd say, from where my knees were to the top of the coloring there. I would say it was about 3 feet, maybe 3.5 feet tall or total. You know, in what I was experiencing. Of the feeling of it. So yeah, I love that too. I
like when you look at the left part of it, it almost looks like there's like an exterior sort of opaque like sort of structure, which the leftmost pink part is within. To me, that's what I'm seeing, almost like there's like some kind of opaque thing covering the pink part. You know, it's just really complex. It's got a lot of structure to it.
And Leslie in the comments here said that she was part of this and witnessed this.
Oh yes, Leslie was with me. She's the first one I showed the pictures to. Yep. Hi, Leslie. Love you. Yes. That's the second time I've had a being follow me around or be with me during a CE5. I was in Gainesville at another CE5, and I kept feeling something following me around. It felt kind of like a red orb, and when I say red orb, it felt like it was light as air, like a balloon, but not bright red, but dark red, very dark red. And I just kept feeling like it was behind me. So towards the end of the night, after feeling it for several hours, I took my phone and I did a selfie over my shoulder like this. And I got a big red orb. So there was a big red orb following me around all night. Wow. And I think I sent you the picture of that. I'm not sure, but I think I did.
Yeah, let's see if we can find that.
And what, explain this picture. This is really, really something. I see some geometric shapes here.
I had an interdimensional being appear in front of me, and I got one picture and then nothing else. I tried to take another one. It didn't work. So I got one little bit of a picture. I couldn't get it full on. Like I said, I saw it, I took the picture, and then it was gone. So I didn't get a second chance. So it was an interdimensional being in my feelings or what I felt. Just sort of a blessing. I was way out in the mountains somewhere when that happened.
And I'm not sure what we're looking at here. This is a video.
I was house sitting last year for a friend, and that little orb would appear every night. And so I took a little video of it here, but then on the third or fourth night, I asked it to come closer, and then I sent you the video of the bigger orb where it did come closer, and it stayed over me for quite a while. But it's that same orb that was appearing every single night. I sometimes feel like I'm watched or protected, and I don't mind that. There's the one of when I ask it to come forward. I said, can you come closer? And this is what I got.
Yeah, that's very
interesting. It looks reminds me of some type of particle under a microscope, you know, or some type of organic living microscopic organism under a microscope. The way it almost seems to have like a cell barrier or a cell wall, thicker sort of exterior, and then
it was pretty bright to my eyes, but not much on the camera. I see. but it was pretty bright. I could see. Now that's another orb that I got on a night vision camera. I have hundreds of them. But I just sent a few to you.
So
But you got
that's okay.
Yeah, that's not the moon. That's an
no,
orb.
that's an orb. It was around 3 a.m. or something. I went outside and just decided to take a picture, and that's what appeared.
And you saw it only in the camera and not with your eyes.
Correct.
Yeah. And it stays there. That's interesting that it kind of remained there.
This is the red orb that followed me around at CE5 in Gainesville. There's almost, on the one on the right, you can almost see a face in there. Reminds me of the big Oz, Wizard of Oz guy. But
yeah, you can kind of see a face in there.
now he was big. This guy, I say guy, I felt like it was a he. He was big. That red orb feeling was behind me, was about, I'm going to say at least 4 feet, 4.5 feet tall, because it felt like he was right up to my shoulders the whole night, just right behind me. So 4.5 feet.
And then now I think that's all for the CE5 and things like this. And then you have what looks to be a shelter of some sort, possibly of Bigfoot.
Yes. I have been Sasquatching for many years, not telling anybody, just doing it on my own. I am more now opening up to others and letting it out there. But I was way out it was in California, and my boyfriend and I were hiking. We'd go crazy places far out. We'd go out on BLM land and anywhere and everywhere. And a lot of this was during COVID when we weren't supposed to go anywhere. We snuck out and went out in BLM land and played in the woods. And we stumbled on this, and he went inside of it, and I took a picture of it. And that's definitely, I believe, a Sasquatch nest or whatever.
That was March 9th. Just yesterday was March 9th. Strangely, how close that is to today.
So now this here, this object says the UFO. Is this the one that was hovering right above the trees?
Yes.
That you remember, cigar shaped. Here's the orange grove over here. And then the pond. Now, is this your picture? Did you draw this?
I attempted to draw my memory. Yes. I'm not very good. I'm not a very good artist.
Well,
but
that's good.
Well, the two little girls that you see there, we had our little hands up. Like I said, we were waving to stop it, and it stopped. So
right.
Yeah,
and this is when you was 16.
1967, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
You also think this was, it says my lab on there. Okay.
Yeah, that's the time I feel that they were. I felt kind of like it was. I felt like there were a lot of different beings getting together, and they were on this thing doing whatever they do, and sort of working together, or I don't know. My lab is the word, I guess. My lab is the word. But
which is common with my labs, oftentimes, there's other ETs seen working alongside the humans. We know from Charles Hall, who I spoke about earlier, that there's many, programs and projects that are joint operated by ETs and humans.
That's what I felt with that experience.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this one you have Bigfoot and the UFO that you was describing. Tell us a little bit about this picture.
I have just recently been putting my memories or visions down, trying to draw them. I don't have any art skills. I mean, nothing ever professional or anything like that. But I've been trying to put down these as sort of memories, but also as documentation. Because I haven't been, I've started putting all my my paranormal experiences in a book, and it is put together, almost complete. I need to add one last final chapter, but I don't have skill with getting things chronological, as you can tell. So I need to work on that a little bit more. And I need a little editing on it before it's ready to go. But anyway, every time I've seen the Sasquatch, I've seen the UFO or an orb or something similar. So that's the point I was making with that, is the last time I saw a Sasquatch. This is not my Sasquatch. This was a different one. This is one I met in Florida not too long ago. And
what was the essence of the communication from this Sasquatch? I see some of it here. I can read. She said she will always be in. What else did she say? She'll always be in touch.
Well, it first started, I found a place to hike that I felt comfortable in. And right off the bat on the first hike, I found where they break trees. And this was a huge tree broken. And I looked inside and I saw it was not rotted. It was not insect infested. Yes, that's the picture. And I knew right away that I was in the right neighborhood. So I started hiking there 2 or 3 times a week, maybe 4 times a week. And you go out about a mile and there's a bench, and I would go out and I'd sit on the bench, take my shoes off, put my feet on the ground and do a little meditation or pray or whatever. Usually when I'm hiking, I'm praying and meditating sort of while I'm hiking anyway. But this one time I'm sitting on the bench, and I'd probably been doing about 2 weeks there. Now, when I go, I took organic fruit, and I was throwing fruit here and there as well, because I knew, like I said, when I saw that tree, I knew I was in the right spot. So after, I don't know how many, but 2 or 3 weeks or so, I'm sitting there with my eyes closed. I'm deep in meditation, and I felt her sit beside me. And I felt in my head, don't open your eyes. So I didn't. And I said, hello, and she, hello. And we just kind of were telepathically. She never spoke out loud. I did not smell odors. I did not. I wasn't afraid at all. I just knew she was beside me. And we probably stayed together, I'm going to guess, maybe 10 minutes. She sat there, and I did not open my eyes, just like whatever I was given that message, don't open your eyes, or I felt that way intuitively. So that was the first meeting. And I could feel her about, I'm going to say 6.5 feet tall, thin, not real huge like some, not I'm not going to say thin, but not enormous. And she said things to me like, I make the medicine for my clan or my group or whatever. And I said, oh, I can learn from you. I love to grow things. I can learn from you. And she kind of agreed that we would share some things in the future, hopefully medicine, And she said, my children want to thank you for bringing the fruit. And then she was gone. So that was the first experience. Like I said, I did not see anything, but I knew good and darn well. I could even feel the bench when she sat down. So then I'm hiking along and I'm praying a few days later, and she comes in sort of behind me, but beside me, and she hikes with me. And she starts talking with me, and I could see her now. And she has her little one, a little girl on her back, a little girl, 1 or 2 years old, something like that. Yeah. And she's hiking with me, but I'm taking 3 or 4 steps to her one. So I'm having to really hike, which I fast walk anyway when I hike. That's what I'm doing out there. And so she's hiking with me, and she says, my family appreciates what you're doing. And I told her, I said, I know that you don't like your picture taken from what I've heard. I want you to know I will never take your picture, and I will never, ever tell anybody where you are or bring anybody here, to put you in danger. In other words, I sort of told her I'd give my life before I'd have them in danger. And so we kind of bonded with that. And I never pulled my phone out ever to take a picture anytime they were around. So that was the first hike that she went with me. And then when we got to the end, I left. And then the 3rd or 4th visit was the 2 little boys. She had 2 little boys, about 5 and maybe about 8 or 9, somewhere like that. And I'm walking by myself, and I'm wondering if she's there, and she's not. But I look to my right, and there's 2 little hairy guys peeking. They're squatting down and in the squatting position, but they're peeking from each side of the tree and looking at me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're letting me see them. Oh my gosh, I'm thanking God again, thanking God. And so that's kind of a picture I tried to draw too. So I got to actually see all three children. Now, the last time she hiked with me, she's told me, this was just before the 2 hurricanes hit, and she said, we're leaving, we have to leave. And she said something about water, but I didn't catch what she meant. And then she says something about, she said to me that they have a celebration once a year, that the clans all get together, and I don't know how they can do that, but something to the effect that they had to get together and were meeting up, but something about the water. And I didn't catch it at all. This was like just barely a week or so before the hurricanes hit. So I knew they were gone. I knew that they were leaving. But the last time I saw them, I was heading out. I went my whole 2.5 miles or 3 miles and nothing. And I was disappointed. And I can see my car, so I'm pretty close to getting out the gate and heading to my car. And I hear this static electricity sound and I, this crackle. I don't know what word I want, but there was this zzz, crackly sound. And I looked to my left and I just froze, because there is the father, and he's huge and he's half solid and half pixelated. And I just froze. I just stayed where I was. I didn't even move my eyes or blink, because I wanted to see as much as I could. And he had his hand up kind of like that, as if to say, I'm letting you see me. And thank you and goodbye. And then I just kept going. I just kept going to my car, and I'm going, oh my gosh, I've seen the whole family. I can't believe it. What a blessing. And then I didn't feel them anymore. And then the hurricanes hit, and then the park got closed. And I got back not too long ago. I went back, but I could tell that they hadn't come back there. But they told me something about, she showed me the St. John's River. She showed me a river going north and south. And to me, that had to be the St. John, so I assume that's where they went when they left.
How did she show you the river?
She just kind of put an image in my head of running water where they were going to. And it was going, for some reason, I could see it in my head as running north and south, instead of the way most rivers kind of go different directions. And right away, I just felt like that had to be the St. John's River. So I feel that that's where they went.
So that's quite a significant sighting of Bigfoot. So you heard this crackling sound, which I assume had something to do with the cloaking device, or the transference through the portal, if that's what they're doing. And we really don't know, if they're using some kind of cloaking mechanism, or whether they're, coming in and out of the dimensions through some kind of portal.
I've been hearing about tree portals and them coming. I've seen a picture of a little one coming out of a tree that looks literally like they come out of a tree. And then a friend of mine has had an experience where one came out of a tree in her yard. And she's reputable. She truly is. And she has a very special piece of land over in Florida, up the road a piece. I mean, literally, got to have a portal there. She's had all kinds of amazing things happen there. Anyway, the portal thing in the tree, when I think about it and the way he was up against the tree, the half that was pixelated was definitely on the side of the tree. So I'm assuming there's a possibility that they have something to do with the trees and possibly a tree portal. That's my thinking. I mean, I don't understand, but
we've heard that before from someone. I can't bring to mind now who that was, but I remember bringing up the TV show From. They have this new TV show. The creators of Lost have created a new TV show called From, and in it, there's these tree portals where you walk into the tree and you wind up somewhere else, and it's always random. And half wondered, whether or not that was one of these little plants that they put in movies that reflect something, that's real out there that they want to, disclose for whatever mysterious reason. That's a very interesting Bigfoot encounter.
That is. And
she She has given me a couple messages, telepathy-wise. She's told me we'll always be in touch, and she said that they're nomadic. She was trying to explain how they are somewhat nomadic, but they like certain territories. But then, as their children get older, they move on and give space to their children's for that area, so to speak. So she was telling me things like that, and I feel like I'll hear from her again. I don't feel like it's over. I really don't. I asked her for a name, but I didn't quite get it. So I keep asking her, do you have a name that maybe maybe she can't say it or give it to me in my head yet.
Yeah, maybe we can't even pronounce it, or maybe they don't use names as some
Well, I'll tell you another experience. There's a Chuck Jacobs on YouTube who is a retired firefighter who has telepathy with the Sasquatch beings. And I had written to him about my experience, and he said, well, next time you're there, ask them if they know the name. I forgot what he said. It's what they call him, what his Sasquatch beings called him. I'm blank on the name. Anyway.
Is it also a researcher who researches Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Is it Kiwani Lapseritis? Kiwani?
No.
Like that, or no?
It was something like, oh gosh, I can't remember. It was a short, sweet name, like Winky. No, I can't remember, but a short little name. And so I did. I went out after I got that email, and I went out that day, and I said, and this surprised me. I said, are you familiar with the gentleman named? And I said the name, and instantly, and I do mean instantly, I got a loud tree knock, just one. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, thank you. I don't need you to do another one. I heard you loud and clear. Thank you. And then I wrote to Chuck and told him that I had that experience, and he put it out on his video that he read my letter and whatever. But so evidently what one knows, they can all know, is what he was trying to find out, and what I did sort of find out for him. If one of them knows you and your name, I guess somehow they kind of all do.
Because they have a collective consciousness. They must, which is revealing, and is something that, I didn't even understand about them, but that would suggest that they have a collective consciousness, that they are, we all have a collective consciousness, but they're tapped into it. We're kind of, there's a veil kind of blocking us from our. It might have been
Wiska, I think. Wiska, something similar to that. I remember something with a W. So Wiska possibly was the name that they called him. Anyway, so it was amazing. I'd never heard a tree knock in Florida. I've heard them out west several times, but I'd never heard one here. And for them to respond instantly like that, I was in heaven. Again, I love when I get a response like that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Well, Kathleen, your story was amazing. It was incredible. I thank you very much for coming on with us and giving us some of your time, and our listeners and viewers your time as well. Jim, is there anything you'd like to close with?
No, that's okay. I would just say happy birthday, Kathleen.
Yes, happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I do hope that this helps open some eyes out there. It's very important to know that when I was having these experiences, I never told anyone ever, and I never asked questions, and I tried to find books, but there was no books to answer anything like this. So when I put my story out here, my truth, I know a lot of people, like I said, my children think I'm nuts. That's okay. They can think that. But I'm thinking of that one child out there that doesn't have an answer or doesn't have anyone to ask. And your show puts it out there so people do have places to find some answers, if only to find like minds, and some answers to all these mysterious things that we get faced with. So I thank you for that.
And we didn't get a chance to delve into the paranormal, but that's okay, because you are welcome back here anytime to continue your story. I
would love to come back. You let me know.
All right.
I will always find time. And there's new things that happen. There's new things that happen daily.
Yes. Yes. And, like I said, your story was fantastic. I loved every bit of it. You are a great storyteller, and I'm very glad that you come on with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching, listening, joining in. We can't wait to have Kathleen back and give us more, this time on the paranormal, or perhaps maybe she sees some more extraterrestrials or gets more CE5 photos. You never know. All right. Thanks everybody for coming and watching, and please be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and all that stuff. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye now. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow to receive notifications when new content is made available. A Paranormally Beyond Disclosure is looking to talk with ufologists, researchers, investigators, contactees, abductees, channelers, and more for upcoming shows. Or if you have stories, photos, videos, questions, suggestions, or comments, please contact us through Messenger or email us at paranormallypodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit us at paranormallypodcast.com for more content and information, including all our social links. I thank you again for watching or listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode of Paranormally Beyond Disclosure.